On this, the first ever episode of the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, you will meet the host. We will discuss the current schedule of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish football team, identify the two most important games of the season, and my reasons why Notre Dame should remain in a conference after 2020. So kick back, relax, pour yourself a drink, and let's go Irish.
Three wide receivers right. They're going to go for two. Back to throw. Walks, looks, has the time, lost the ball, the pass is batted down. It's batted down by Carroll.
Dawson throws, open receiver in the end zone. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Somehow, the Irish did it.
Out of the pack, 30, 35. Goodbye, baby. At the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Five, rocket touchdown, Irish.
Zibikowski looking for a block. Cuts to the right to the 40. Gets a block. Gets to the 45, 50. Up to the 45, 40, 30. 1 minute to beat. 20, 15, 10. He's down to the 5. Touchdown, Irish.
What is going on, Fighting Irish Faithful? My name is Joe. I will be your host for this adventure that we're about to embark on. There are a lot of great Notre Dame podcasts out there, and I'm hoping that I can engage in some dialogue with you, the audience, and try to bring a little different perspective, a little bit based off of stats, numbers, and quite frankly, my opinion. Little background, who is this guy who's talking to me right now on my headphones or on my earbuds or earpods, yeah. I don't have one. But anyway, I've been a lifelong Notre Dame fan ever since I was young. I remember my first game, it was in 1994 versus USC. That was an easy game for me to go to because I'm originally from California, but I reside now in the beautiful, comfortable Midwest. I've had family that goes there, cousins. I got a cousin that goes there now. All through high school, I would my parents would tape the games on the TV for me, especially my senior year, because I was doing SAT prep, and then after that would come home and watch the game afterwards. I was not accepted to Notre Dame for college, but that's okay because I went to Gonzaga University where I met the doc, and well, things just happened to work out for the best that way. However, I did get accepted to Notre Dame for grad school, but that was during the Charlie Weis years for 2008 and 2009. But ever since then, I've never left Indiana. I live and work in the greater Indy area, and yeah, here we are. So I've been, like I said, been listening to podcasts, reading blogs for quite some time, and communicating with people on Twitter. At that note, you can find me on Twitter at Fighting Irish Faithful or Faithful_Irish. Follow me. I'll probably follow you. I probably already follow a good number of people that I like listening to and reading their stuff. It's all good. Just want to engage in dialogue. That's kind of what prompted me to do this podcast. I just need more people to get it out there. You just want to engage. Love the dialogue. It's great. But I'm hoping to bring some sort of stats and analysis and numbers, number crunching, and that's my tiny contribution to the podcast world. But in short, with this interaction, a microphone, a glass of scotch in my hand, and the spreadsheet, let's get after it. So the 2020 season. Clearly, the original schedule is not at all what it is now. Originally, we were going to go out to Ireland for the Navy game in Aviva Stadium, and last time, of course, we were there was in 2012. Then after that, Arkansas, Western Michigan, Wake Forest, Wisconsin at Lambeau Field. I think a lot of people were really excited about that one. I was trying to get tickets. Didn't work out. It's probably a good thing I didn't lose any money on the deal. Then beat up on Stanford again, hopefully. Out to Pitt. We had a bye. Then we went to Duke. We had a home game against Duke. Home game against Clemson. Everyone was excited about that one. Georgia Tech, Louisville, and then finishing up the year at USC. with COVID-19 and all of the other things, I'm not going to talk too much about what the team's doing during the coronavirus. I'm sure you're all sick of hearing about that. The original schedule, the combined record of those teams were 88 and 67 last year. That's the 2019 season. Those teams had about a 56% win percentage as a whole. The average ranking of all those teams was 57.7 in Sagarin. So in listening to other people and what they're saying, oh, Notre Dame's schedule is significantly easier this year. You know, I'm not so sure about that. With 10 ACC games plus one, the Notre Dame schedule really not that much more easy, I would argue. Yes, the ACC is down. It's not the SEC. It's not even the Big 12, I would argue. The win percentage of the teams that we're playing this year, the 10 ACC games plus one, just those ACC teams have a win percentage of 55.6%, 56%. So it's basically the same win percentage. So I don't want to hear anyone saying that Notre Dame's schedule is significantly easier now because they're playing an all ACC conference schedule. The numbers don't say that. Also, Sagarin rankings, again, for those of you who are not familiar with Sagarin, check it out this season. It's all math. It's not this AP coaches poll shenanigans, though there is value to those. Again, based off math, statistics, no bias. It's all computers, whatever. Notre Dame's original schedule opponents last year in 2019, their average Sagarin ranking was 57.7. The current ACC only schedule, those teams, their average ranking is 58.4. 57.7 of the original schedule, 58.4. It's not even 1 point of ranking difference. The two most important games of the year are, ironically, the two games that remained unaltered or unimpacted by COVID as far as date and location. That's Wake Forest and Clemson. First, that Clemson game, ideally, both teams most likely will be 7-0. Clemson is far and away the best team on Notre Dame's schedule. They played in the national title. I actually thought they would beat LSU last year, and that's what the numbers were telling me. And they finished the year ranked third in Sagarin. They went 14-1. And that game has a lot of feeling like the 1993 Notre Dame Florida State game. And just as in 1993, Boston College is also the next week, so that's just kind of a fun thing to think about there. And by fun, I mean, you want to stab your eyes out when thinking about that game from 93. Brian Kelly's never beaten Clemson. He's played them twice, lost once at their place, and lost, of course, in the Cotton Bowl. Clemson's number one in the coaches poll, and I said earlier I don't put a lot of stock into the coaches poll, but I do think that there is that perception, just like the AP. It does bring up the hype. If you're not ranked high, in the eyes of the media, the game doesn't get hype, and there's not a lot of attention, and so that does have an impact. A few other teams I would put as the honorable mention for being important this year, and that's North Carolina, Pitt, and Boston College, just on either A, who the teams are, or B, they're on the up and up. North Carolina is on the up and up, and so is Pitt. Pitt's always a struggle. Anything from a game that involves sprinklers or multiple overtimes, either way, there's some scotch or some wine that's needed after that game. And then, of course, Boston College, other than maybe USC and Michigan and other teams like Purdue, Boston College gets a lot of flack and hate from Notre Dame fans that I've surrounded myself with. So take that, BC. I.e. backup college. But the second most important game that I think is underrated is Wake Forest. It's not because Wake Forest is good. Wake Forest finished last year 8-5, and they were ranked 60th in Sagarin. It's also not because we've played them a million times. In the Brian Kelly era, we've played them 5 times. We played them in 2011, 2012, 2015, 2017, and 2018. Why we've played them so many times, I really don't know. Like we've hardly played Clemson. We've hardly played Georgia Tech in this ACC, 5-game spit that we've had with the ACC over these last couple of years. So it's not because Wake is good or there's some mystical cigar and brandy meeting reason why we seem to play them a lot. It's only because of the location. We're playing them in B of A Stadium, and it's a pro field, and it's where the ACC championship game is going to be held. And if Notre Dame goes into that neutral, quote-unquote, neutral environment, beats up on Wake, as we should, and finishes that game strong, we will have that exposure. We will have that, we'll get the lay of the land when we go in to play a conference championship game, potentially, if we earn it. If we've already played in that stadium once before, we will be distraction-free, be able to focus on our opponent in a potential conference championship game. That is the only reason why that game is important. It's only because we've already literally played there that year. It's almost like I woke up from a dream, and I had a dream last night where there was this crazy virus that was going all over the United States, and it was so weird that all the college football teams were locking themselves in, and Notre Dame had joined the ACC, and they were going to play for the title. We weren't going to play Navy. We're not going to play USC. This literally sounds like a nightmare I would have. But this is actually reality. So I give credit to Jack Swarbrick, the Notre Dame athletic department, partnering with the ACC during this temporary emergency kind of environment and plan to, quite frankly, save the season, preserve the football season. So I give credit to the administration for what they've done there. We do not want to be so prideful of our independence that we end up like BYU. BYU right now is struggling and desperate to fill up their schedule, fill up their games. When I checked this morning on the internet, I think they only had 5 or 6 games still saved. Those are with Mountain West teams and maybe a few other teams. What makes the 2020 season unique is that Notre Dame can try on a conference. Notre Dame can tell people to shut the hell up. We're joining a conference this year because it's an emergency situation due to COVID, and we're going to abandon independence for 1 year, and we are going to do this conference thing because it is the best scenario for us this season. Notre Dame's always gotten flack. Oh, you're not in a conference. Oh, you have this arrogance about you, and you're just in it for the money and da 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 da. I think this is an interesting opportunity for Notre Dame to try out what it is to be in a conference and also not play Navy. Those are kind of the two controversial things that tend to come up. I've been seeing on Twitter, which you can find me at Fighting Irish Faithful, at @faithful_Irish. On Twitter, people were talking about Notre Dame trolling college football with winning the conference, and then next year, assuming the coronavirus goes away, that everything goes back to normal and Notre Dame goes back to being independent. I think Twitter might be counting some chickens, and before the eggs hatch, they might be forgetting about this other great team called Clemson. We got to handle business with them first. But hey, let's do it. This is typical Notre Dame fan season. Hey, we're going all the way, baby. Let's do it. But anyway, Notre Dame in a conference. This leads me to my hot take. Notre Dame, as an independent in the past, it's playoff or bust. We have to go undefeated, maybe 1 loss. Notre Dame team could potentially make the playoff, but I think we need some help from some other teams. So 1 loss Notre Dame team is not likely to make the playoffs. If we do lose 1 game, now we have this huge blow to our confidence of our players. We lose that momentum. we're walking around wide-eyed and crazy, almost like an Everett Golson kind of situation. And there's almost this unnecessary pressure that Notre Dame has to go undefeated. And don't get me wrong, I would love it if Notre Dame went undefeated and dominated, kick ass, like all the other great Notre Dame teams we know, like 88 and whatnot. But in the current environment that is college football, with conference titles, the playoffs, the media, social media, these young men need to build their confidence up with these opportunities that are before them. So my hot take is that if Notre Dame joins the ACC full time after this year, that would actually help the confidence of our team, and we would, I think, be more likely to win a title. A conference title is not the thing, but it's a thing. And it's a great stepping stone to build up that winning attitude. You just played a really good team in your conference. You beat them. Now you're ready for the first round of the playoff semifinal. Or, at worst case scenario, winning the ACC, you get an automatic bid to the Orange Bowl if you didn't make the playoffs. So those are stepping stones of success. Being an independent, Notre Dame has to rely on this perception, and we're limiting ourselves to the environment that is already out there. And it's almost like we're starting the race, with a 3-second delay or something. I love that Notre Dame has been independent, and I personally would like them to do it, but I just don't think in the environment that is college football today that it helps them. I don't think independence is helping Notre Dame win a title. I also don't. I've heard people talk about recruiting, that if Notre Dame joins the conference with recruiting, that's going to somehow hurt that. We're not going to go coast to coast. I disagree 100%. I mean, you're talking to someone who's from the West Coast and grew up a Notre Dame fan. It has nothing to do with it. You're still going to get the kids from California, the guys from Florida, from the Midwest. I really think that Notre Dame will still be able to, recruiting will not be hurt because it's Notre Dame. Here's a question. Who is the last independent college football team to win a title? The answer is the 1989 Miami Hurricane. Miami was one of 25 teams that were independent. You heard that right. 25 teams were independent. This is crazy. I think there's 5 now. It's like Liberty, Army, BYU, Notre Dame, and I think UMass or something. Just because UMass is terrible and no one wants them in their conference, it's going to drag them down probably. So that's a long time. Here's a second question for you. When was the last time Notre Dame won a big bowl game or a New Year's Six bowl? And that was in 1994, January of 94, right after the 93 season, where Notre Dame won the Cotton Bowl. Since that point, 1994, lost Fiesta Bowl, Colorado. 95, lost Orange Bowl, Florida State. 2000, 2005, 2006, 2012, 2015, 2018. Notre Dame has lost all of these big bowl games in a row. We've won the little bowl games, but that doesn't honestly get me that excited. It's the New Year's Six, Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl, what have you, that is a stepping stone. At the end of the day, Notre Dame, try something new, okay? You've been independent. We love it. It's great. But let's try something new, And I don't want to hear anyone talk about how money is the reason why Notre Dame should remain independent. Come on. Are we running a business here, or are we trying to win football games? All right. Let's join a conference. Let's leave independence behind, and let's do something different. It's not that I hate independence. I am just so desperate for a big win, a New Year's Six win, for a national title as a Notre Dame fan. Let's try something new. I don't see independence helping us. Historically, no team has done it since '89. It clearly hasn't helped us since '93 or '88. Try something new. Don't just wear this badge of independence, because I'm not seeing the connection between independence and national championship. If the college football playoffs expand in the next few years to 8 teams, which I think they should do, then it may be that a conference title is like an automatic bid. So like say the Power 5 teams, all the winner of the Pac-12, Big 10, SEC, ACC, and the Big 12, they all win their conference championship, just like in the basketball tournament. They all automatically get in. And then you have 3 at-larges. Well, Notre Dame, if you're in the ACC and say you win your conference, you're automatically in. But let's say you finish second in the ACC, but you still had a really good schedule and you just lost one game to, say, like a Clemson, then you could be an at-large. Okay, Notre Dame as an independent, you in an 18 playoff scenario, you only have one opportunity, assuming that conference champions are automatic wins, but you only have to be an at-large. I think that this is a path forward, a path of success, and I think I'm just rambling on right now, and my scotch is getting a little low. So I'm going to say goodnight and see if we can get this uploaded. Hopefully y'all can get it by tomorrow or the next day. And as always, go Irish.